Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. I'm spitting. It's disgusting. I haven't done a video on this channel for a while, and so this is like my spiritual YouTube channel, which is separate from my music. Maybe I should just combine the two one day. I'll probably lose all my views if I do that, but anyway. Welcome back to Justine's stream, where I talk about woo-woo things that enlightened souls may appreciate. If you're walking this path, you know it's not always easy, and I'm here to be real and honest about that. And today what I'd like to dive into is a couple things. Mirroring souls, and that usually comes from high vibrational new relationships. So that could be soulmates, that could be twin flames. We are not going to worry about labels today. We are just going to talk about what it's like to meet a really strong, similar vibrational match to your own and what that experience is like, speaking from experience. And I'd also like to talk about resistance and why we feel resistance, where it comes from. And last week, I believe, is when I wrote a few notes about that, and I kind of channeled a message of why we feel resistance. And there's two sides of the coin, as always. There may be multiple more reasons why we feel resistance, but today I'd like to dive into the two sides that I became aware of last week. One coming from fear and one coming from a knowingness that it's something that you're supposed to dive into, whether that's a relationship or a new business partnership or what have you, and having fear come up because you know it's the right thing for you. And so that's what I want to dive into today. So I guess I'm going to start just by touching on the quick notes that I took last week, and we'll go from there and start talking about relationships, because relationships are interesting things, aren't they? So here we go. I just got really bright all of a sudden. Okay, I'm back. I'm not a ghost, I swear. So here's the deal. There's a distinct difference between the following scenarios. Scenario number one. There's an energetic match that's really not a match. And this is when you feel in your gut that you don't jive with somebody. That doesn't mean they're wrong. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean you're bad. It just means something is not completely aligning. Usually you can feel this in your solar plexus area. So that's like right on top of your stomach, underneath your heart chakra. Kind of hard to see because apparently I'm so bright and full of light that I can't even show you what I'm talking about. But essentially you'll feel it in your solar plexus region. That's where I tend to feel it. You may feel like an instant like sharp pain in that area, or it may just feel off to you. So this essentially is not a match. It's not a fit vibrationally. And that doesn't even mean anything physical. It just means like on an energetic level, because everything is energy, something doesn't quite fit. Okay? So then you feel resistance to this person, to this situation, whatever is happening, because it doesn't vibe. And even if you can't pinpoint why, you can think about it all you want. Sometimes there's no logical reason why you feel like something is not a match. You just know. And so it's important to trust that knowingness. And sometimes there is a logical reason. Like sometimes it's very clear because, say you're entering into a partnership, whether that's romantic or not, either way, sometimes what your goals and your values are and where you're going next don't match up with someone else's. And again, that doesn't mean they're wrong, doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means it's not a match. It's not a vibrational match at a certain amount, at a certain period of time, right? So essentially it's like trying to force a square peg into a round hole. Like it's just not going to line up no matter what you do, no matter how much you force it. And so that's the reason why you feel resistance. It's just because maybe you don't have a soul contract together, or if you do, it's that soul contract. You've both mutually learned what you need to learn for your soul's growth, and so you're moving forward. Essentially, that's why you're feeling the resistance. And so explaining that kind of thing, I think everybody can probably relate to that kind of scenario where something doesn't fit and doesn't feel right, there's no resonance anymore, and you just feel like something's off. And what's really interesting about that is that you can meet someone brand new and feel that right away, and automatically feel like, my energy does not match with yours. And, you know, you can choose to walk away or choose to force it to work, whatever. Other times, you can kind of feel like you have an energetic match or resonance with someone, and over time, that fades or that shifts for some reason. And there are plenty of reasons why that happens and why people are meant to continue on their way, you're meant to continue on your way. Again, doesn't mean they're wrong, doesn't mean you need to blame them, and it doesn't mean you're wrong either, it doesn't mean you're bad, and it doesn't mean you need to blame yourself. So, with that being said, next I want to dive into the really interesting one, the really interesting opposite scenario, which I've experienced, and I'll explain it. Because I've experienced it in terms of I've done this to people, and I've had people do it to me, and I know how crappy it feels, even though it also feels great, okay? So this is an energetic match that is in alignment. So you can meet someone, you could either know them for a really long time, or meet them and automatically feel like this is such a match, okay? So energetically, you're in alignment. Sometimes, as I mentioned earlier in the video, that can feel scary as fuck. And that can feel really powerful because it's overwhelming. It's unexpected a lot of the time when you really deeply resonate with someone and they kind of came out of nowhere. It feels scary because they bring out your best potential, and they also bring up mirroring, which I'm going to talk about later, of your wounds. And they're not doing that to hurt you. Like, they're doing it because they're probably not even conscious that they're doing it, but their role is to mirror light to you, and the light is going to show you your light, and it's also going to shed light on your dark and on your patterns, and stuff will come up, and you may want to push them away because of that. So essentially, it'll push you out of your comfort zone with this kind of relationship. This could be friends, this could be business, this could be romantic, this can be any kind of relationship, okay? This can even be a stranger you meet once. Like, sometimes this kind of soul resonance just happens, and it's pretty gnarly sometimes. It's a really beautiful thing, but it comes with a lot. So essentially, it's putting you out of your comfort zone, which results in discomfort because there's so much growth potential. And it's not that it's not a match necessarily. It's that it is a match to something within you on a really big scale, on a really big level that you're not used to dealing with, that you're not used to having be mirrored back to you, if that makes sense. And so that causes like a temporary resistance to that other person, to that part of yourself that's trying to come out and is trying to be exposed to the light, if you will. So I've experienced that as of late, and I don't want to get like too personal about it, but I have met souls lately, people, they're real life people, that I knew before I even met them that kind of resistance and that kind of growth and that kind of intensity was going to transpire before I even physically met them. I just kind of knew that there was going to be a big shift, that there was going to be a lot of self-awareness that was going to come from meeting them, and that's exactly what happened. And things were great, and there was a lot of mirroring going on, and it was like, this is my light, and they were like, this is my light, and it was like, oh, it's so great, it's so much light. And I think things just got to a point where, it speeds up, it's very intense, and it happens very, very quickly, and all of a sudden you realize, shit, I have this pattern coming up, I have this pattern coming up, and I have this old behavior coming up, this old trigger, this old trauma, and not because the person necessarily represents anything from your past. And this is why it's different when you're dealing with these new high vibrational relationships that are coming in, and many of us are dealing with this right now. It's different than just replaying your old patterns and attracting the same junk, because I can see very, very clearly the contrast between the new kind of person that's coming into my life versus the old relationships and the old people that I had in my life. They are like two different sides of the coin. One, it's night and day. They're two completely different kinds of beings. They have, it's just so clear to me. Like, an example is the people that I used to have in my life weren't very self-aware. And it's not to put them down. They are wherever they are on their ascension journey, or maybe they're not on an ascension journey. I don't know. Not my place to judge. But the kind of people that I've been meeting have been very self-aware, but nobody's perfect, right? And that's the thing. We can't expect ourselves to be perfect. We can't expect other people to be perfect. And so I just want to make that clear, because it's not that I haven't dealt with my wounds, because I have. Like, I've been working so hard on my inner work, and I've been committed to that for many, many years of my life. And though I have a young physical body, my soul is very old, and I dive really deep, and I'm not afraid to go to the depths of my soul and look at my pains and look at my past triggers and trauma and deal with it. And so I have consistently been doing the work over and over and over. New trigger, okay, look at it, deal with it, feel it out, okay, keep moving forward. And so it's not as if I've been completely like abandoning myself or abandoning the stuff coming up. And it's not that I'm replaying old things with the same kind of people. It's actually showing me the amount of growth that has happened, because the kind of people that I've been attracting are the kind of people that are also on the same path or similar path of going through the same thing as me, learning and being triggered and doing the work and continuing to move forward. So I can see a huge difference between the kind of person I used to be attracted to the kind of person that I'm attracted to now, because they're two totally different people. I have become a very different person. I'm still human. I'm still going to have triggers come up. But dealing with these new kinds of high vibrational relationships with, like I said, whether that's like you want to call it twin flames, soulmates, whatever, it comes with mirroring, as I said, of your light and of your dark. And it's really, really intense. And so naturally what really, I don't know how to say this. Something that's quite normal to happen in these situations and in these new kinds of relationships is that one or both parties will have resistance and will push the other person away. And again, it's not because it's not a good match. It's because it's so intense that you don't know what to do with that other person or the emotions that they're evoking in you, and you don't know what to do with yourself. And so I've seen this played out. I've had this play out with myself. Like I've done it, and I've also had it done to me. And it feels really, really crappy sometimes, because you can think, wow, like I have never felt so deeply connected to somebody and felt and heard and understood. And I have never felt like someone got me to the depths that you do on a soul level. And things were going so great, and you felt the same way. It was expressed that that was a mutual thing. And then all of a sudden, you completely pushed me out of your life. It's like, okay, nothing really went wrong. It's just sometimes we go searching for distractions because it's so intense to deal with and we don't know how to deal with it. Logically, doesn't make sense. Our ego chimes in and says, this is way too much. You should get rid of this for XYZ reasons, out of fear, because it is a powerful, loving, strong vibration. The energy of unconditional love from the divine, from source, God, creator, whoever it is that you believe in, is so overwhelmingly powerful. And as a human being who has learned conditional love, we all have, when we get a sense and when we just get a small taste of what divine love, unconditional, true love feels like, we kind of tend to want to push it away. We almost don't believe that it exists sometimes. We don't want to believe that it's real because we are so conditioned down here on this planet to think otherwise, to feel like we need to earn our love, that we have to work hard for it, that we need to suffer to have success. And all of this is bullshit. And so I, along with many other people, have been going through this process of undoing, unbecoming, changing the script, rewriting our scripts, and realizing that we have such a great potential that we can experience here on earth, even if we're not going back home to heaven, source, creator, whatever you believe in. We can still live in an empowered life as a co-creator here on earth, but that means that we have to change our thoughts. We have to start working on that, changing our belief systems. And it doesn't just happen overnight. It's not just like, oh, done one day and I don't have to worry about it ever again and I'm never going to be triggered ever again because I have these beautiful souls in my life and they're mirroring light to me. It doesn't really work that way. I mean, to be honest, we're here to help each other learn and grow and evolve to our highest self. We're here to help each other connect back to our higher self, to connect to divine love, to connect to true power. And this is really about empowerment, right? And I think that's why it brings up a lot of frustration for someone like myself, because if I go through this experience and I start to meet like-minded, not even like-minded souls, but if I start to meet better energetic matches to who I am, and I have never met people that vibrate so closely to wherever it is that I'm vibrating on an energetic level, it's frustrating when you experience such a uplifting, empowering experience with someone else, and then when they push you away, it's frustrating, because it's like, this is the highest vibration of love that I have allowed and accepted in my life. This has been the greatest experience of empowerment that I've allowed myself to feel, not just with somebody else, but in myself. This is the greatest level, the highest level of embodiment of empowerment, if that makes any sense. It's really hard to like phrase these things, because it's not even like a tangible, logical thing to explain. But essentially, when you step into this new version of you, 5D if you will, and then you get triggered back into your old 3D patterns, and I'm just using these labels so you can understand what the heck I'm talking about. It's frustrating because you can feel like you lost it. You can feel like you've lost your connection to the divine. You can feel like you've lost your connection to the other soul that pushed you away. You can feel like you're running on empty, and you're back in your past, and you're back in your trauma, and you're back in your wounds, and you don't know how to get out. And it's a really, 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 really frustrating process to go through. And I'm still going through it right now, and there's no guarantee that it's going to get any easier from here. But I just wanted to post this today because I have been talking to a few other people, spiritual teachers and spiritual friends of mine, that have been going through the same thing. And so I just wanted to make it known that it's not crazy. You're not crazy. This is something that happens. And I just want everyone to know that if you feel resistance to something, tune in to find out where it's coming from, because it may not necessarily be coming from a place of this isn't a good match. It may be coming from a place of this is what I need to do, and this is what I need to follow. And it's the same as like taking a big career step. Like, it's natural to be very afraid of what you need to step into. It comes with fear. But the challenge is to go within and find out, where is the fear coming from? And with these high vibrational relationships, a lot of the time it comes with fear, and we push people away, and there's resistance. And I just would invite us all to take a moment to just breathe and tune in to ourselves before we do that.